Hello,
Hello.
good evening, good afternoon to everyone who have joined us for our last and final episode of My Journey to Switzerland series. Uh, so we are having this session after a really long time because of the ongoing situation. Now that quite a lot of you have received your master's admit or PhD admits, or some of you are even coming here for your internships or thesis, we think this is a good time to let you know about what to bring, what not to bring, and everything else around this thing in this episode. So my name is Ayush, and I am a PhD student at EPFL. And without further ado, let's go straight into the session. So here with us, we have a wide range of panelists with us who will be there to answer your questions and share their experiences. So feel free to ask your questions anytime, either in chat or you can just jump in anytime you want. So let's have a very interactive session. So first of all, I would like to uh, have a quick round of introduction. So here with us we have Shreyas, Saurabdeep, Maulik, Ashwarya, and last but not the least, our very own president, Mukesh. So we can have a quick round of introduction. So starting with Shreyas, can you give a brief introduction about who you are, where you're from, and how long have you been in Switzerland, and everything else?
Hi all, welcome to our session. So my name is Shreyas Zoglekar. I'm from Pune, Maharashtra. I did my bachelor's in Pune itself in metallurgical engineering, and I joined DPFL in 2018 fall for my master's in material science. And since then, after completion of my master's in February 2021, I continued to be here for my PhD, and I'm currently a PhD student in EPFL's Material Science Department.
Thank you so much, Shreyas. Moving on to our very own Saurabh Deep, who is a recent PhD grad from EPFL. So,
So,
Saurabh Deep.
hi everyone and welcome to a session. I am Shaurodeep Majumdar. I'm from Kolkata. So I finished my master's studies at IIT Kanpur. Then I worked for a year in Tata Steel R&D. And then in July 2019, I started my PhD at EPFL. So I'm currently still, so I'm currently still pursuing my PhD.
Okay.
This July I'll be probably completing 2 years of my stay in Switzerland. So that's all about. I'm looking forward to interact with you all.
Cool. Thank you. Moving on to Maulik.
Um, Hello. My name is Malik. I'm from Delhi, and I'm just finishing my master's here in communication systems. I I came to Switzerland like 2 years back in September 2019, and I just finished. I had finished my bachelor's in electrical engineering, and Switzerland seemed like a cool place. So throw any questions if you feel free to throw any questions. Yeah.
Cool. And last but and moving on to Ashwarya.
Hi, I'm Aishwarya Prasad. I'm a PhD student at UNIL. I came to Switzerland about 9 months ago and bang in the middle of the pandemic. So it's been a journey. Before this, I was in Bangalore at the Indian Institute of Science for my bachelor's and master's. And before that, I'm from Chennai.
Okay. And Mukesh, can we have your introduction as well?
Hello, all. I am Mukesh. I come from India. I'm doing my PhD here, and it's my fourth year of PhD. So I kind of lived like almost 3.5 years in Switzerland. And as Maulik said, it's literally a cool place. And it can also be hot during summer. So we have a slide for you in the end to back that up. Welcome everyone, and feel free to ask any questions. Don't be shy. We all are here, and we all have been at your place at some point of time. So go ahead.
So the whole idea about having this series was to think about the time when we were at your place, the whole thought process about moving to a new country, what's life like there, whether you're going for masters or PhD, and what to bring, what not to bring, and all sorts of questions, your concerns and anxiousness and everything. We have all been through that. Some of us have been at the stage during the pandemic, and some of us have been at the stage not so during the pandemic. So here we are there to answer your questions. But before we get into that, I'll open up the discussion and we can go during this round. So we can have a few words from each of our panelists on what was their thought process like, and what were their own key concerns and thoughts when they were packing their bag to move to Switzerland. And also please mention if Switzerland was the first country that you moved to abroad. So we can start this time with Aishwarya, who is the newest among us here.
Yeah, well, so for starters, I think my moving situation was special in that I had to do that in the middle of the pandemic. And unfortunately, that experience is still relevant 1 year later now. So the biggest challenge for me was trying to, because I could get a lot of advice from people on what they generally did when they came to Switzerland, but which of those things you could do during the pandemic was another question. Because, for example, if you wanted to buy things, you wanted to, even something as simple as clothes, you couldn't just walk up to the mall and finish your shopping in a day because everything was closed. But another good thing there is that if you're already if you're coming for a PhD, for example, you're already going to start getting a salary, so then you have a little more flexibility to come here and take care of some of your things. So that's also something to figure out. And one thing that I just kept hearing from everybody, since we're talking about packing bags, is to bring a pressure cooker. I didn't, even though I make a lot of lentils and stuff. But I was lucky because after coming here, I found someone who could just give me one. But yeah, I mean, if you're able to bring one with you, please do. And also, I think I might not be the ideal person to ask about packing bags because I think I only brought 21 kg or 20 kg of luggage, everything included when I came. So if you want to ask questions about what you can take a risk and exclude, you can ask me that. Yeah.
That's a really short and sweet answer. I mean, knowing what to bring and knowing what not to bring is equally important. So moving on to Maulik. So can you share your experience and talk about?
Yeah, I mean, for me, moving was, before the pandemic situation, thankfully. And yeah, it's a fun experience. I mean, for me, it was of course, you move to a college hostel and you still stay away from your family for 4 years or something, but it's different to moving to an entirely new country with its own people and stuff like that. But one thing I would definitely, after 2 years of my stay, something that I neglected and something that I would definitely recommend is that, I mean, if you're coming to EPFL, or in general, I mean, if you're moving to some other country where the primary language is not English, I mean, I would essentially strongly recommend you to learn the language before coming here. I mean, the thing is that I mean, you always think about that. Yeah, I'll find people who speak English, or I'll stick to groups which speak English. But yeah, it's from a cultural integration point of view, it's quite important, especially so at EPFL. This is something I've felt for 2 years. And the thing is that for us, I mean, for me specifically, it's these last few years. I mean, these last year, I guess, was sort of just went by due to the pandemic and just sitting in front of my room. So maybe it did not affect me too much. But if hopefully when you all will be arriving here, the situation would be much better. I mean, you would have almost you would be able to do almost anything that you'd be able to do in the pre-pandemic world. And yeah, to get the most out of it, to get the most out of the journey, with regards to making friends, with regards to going out with people, with regards to talking to even professors and stuff. Yeah, French usually helps a lot, learning French in this specific instance. So yeah, that's my one strong tip that I would give out to you for now. Yeah, I mean, if you have questions, yeah. Yeah.
For
Go
sure.
ahead.
Thank you.
And if I may add to that, I think another way in which learning French helps is even if you're not fluent, but you're able to ask a simple question or even ask if they speak English in French, people end up being a lot nicer to you. So that helps as well.
I mean, I can definitely attest to that. So, just a bit about the background. So, I live and work in the German-speaking part of Switzerland because I work at Paul Scherrer Institute, although I'm a PhD student at EPFL. And here also, I mean, the local language is German. And I mean, even if you can just say that you cannot speak German in German, or if you can ask, like, if you can speak English in German, things usually work out pretty well. So learning language is the key, and small steps like uh, working on Duolingo can help you get started and keep you motivated, for example. But we'll talk about it later during the session. So moving on to Saurabh. So Saurabh, what was your experience like? You said that you have been here for some time. So when you arrived here, what was your thought process like? And was Switzerland the first country that you moved to outside India? Or like, how was it like for you?
Yeah, so for me, the first Switzerland was the first country I moved outside India, like to stay for a long time, because since then I was mostly in different parts of India. So, and for me, one part which was like I agree with many of the points which were mentioned by Aishwarya and Maulik. One thing was, like so. I also work in one of the satellite campuses of EPFL. So I'm in Sion in Valais. So
Okay.
a natural inclination for many of the for many students is that we try to first search for who are the Indian students in that country or who are the Indians in that country. And whoever contacts I had or whoever people I knew were all in Lausanne. So I was like, where exactly am I going? Do I even know anyone over there? So that was a big concern for me. So yeah, so quite naturally, since EPFL is spread out, EPFL and ETL Zurich both are spread out in different parts of Switzerland, we have small satellite campuses. So language definitely becomes an issue over there. But I also feel that yes, over the course of time, once you get to know the basics of the very simple phrases of the language, you can interact more with the local people here. And also a few things which are very essentials for your own self. There are always some things like Aishwarya mentioned pressure cooker, or things like people who love to cook a lot. There is this thing I forgot to mention. I forgot to bring my first time back. I brought it this time. There is, if you love to cook and have food in your own way, you have all these things for peeling of vegetables. It's a very small influence tool. I never realized how important that small tool was. It just occupies a very small portion of my bag, but this time it made my cooking life so easier. I don't have to worry about many other stuffs. And if your food and these stuffs becomes easier, a lot of your day becomes simpler. So yeah, so stuffs like these foods and stuffs which doesn't occupy much space can be one good. And uh, also I realized that this thing, I mean, maybe this is we often have a fear when we move into a new culture, like if you can make friends or how to integrate within the society and stuffs like that. So these are concerns and these are things which learn along the process. But one thing I learned from my these two experiences, that in this city of Sion, even though we are very few international people, we may not have too many friends or not. But if you still try and go out and reach out to people, people will be there to help. So never be afraid. So I would say that you will get lost in a completely new land. It won't happen. You might take some time, but in and around you will surely find people and you will get to a path. So that's what I would like to share.
Thank you so much, Saurabh. That was a really nice answer, because you see, so far we have seen that in packing your things, the language was the most important and common theme that we could see, and you really covered the aspect of food quite well. So moving on to Shreyas. So Shreyas, what was your experience, or what was your thought process about when you were packing your bags to move to Switzerland, and what was it like when you were just getting excited and getting ready to move here?
Yeah. So for me, it was quite a new experience because I was going to be somewhere else for the first time. Like I have completed my bachelor's in Pune itself, so I have never been out of town for a long time.
Mhm.
Forget about being outside the nation.
Mhm.
So yeah, my family was overcautious about sending me
Mhm.
alone with so many things, and in concerning the
Mhm.
cooking. So as Ashwarya mentioned about the
Mhm.
pressure cooker, which is the most important thing Indian moms feel like to send with
Mhm.
their child. But
Yes.
yeah, so there are so many things which we feel that we don't get here,
Mhm.
but there are like many of them which we still easily find in these supermarkets, and I didn't know them that time. For example, like now you get like tur dal or all of the lentils in Migro, which is like one of the biggest supermarket here. You get paneer also in Coop, which is again a supermarket here, which we didn't know that time. So I felt like because it's not the US and where we not many Indians are there, it would be like really a scarcity of Indian food, but it's not so. We have a lot of options available inside the normal European supermarkets.
Mhm.
Then there are also Asian stores, etc. So this is my tip, that don't worry too much about not finding things here. You will find them here in a way. We also have some online shops for like online Indian or Asian shop for all of the ingredients or frozen parathas, etc. That
Mhm.
I didn't know that time, and then I could have not taken some extra luggage with me, which was redundant. So this is something I would like to tell. Secondly, is that I was a master student, so I when I came here, so I didn't really have a source of income, and sometimes that is a concern when you have to find an apartment. And usually, for the experience with all of those along with me who came here, if you don't have a scholarship or fellowship which usually reserves you one room in the student hostel, you need to find the accommodation by your own, and it is not possible by doing it in India, because people here want you to visit their house. They have some people, other people who they interview, and then they give you the house. So while packing your bags, it's for master students, it's equally important that you have to think about the first, let's say, 2 weeks when you come here. At least have a temporary accommodation if you don't have already a reserved room. And that is usually a concern because we don't have a source of income that or any sort of work contract. When you have that, things are much easier. So this is something that you need, and again language comes here. So if you have at least a bit of French, or if you then just ask them in French, can you speak English, and like that things get easier. You can have a really smooth pathway established between the people and you, because you come from a foreign land. So of course the people here are not so they don't feel secure at the first place while giving you the apartment. So language is something that connects you with them. And even if not, I have heard in instances that people use Google Translate, like they speak with that in English and then with French. You can try that, but it's a bit difficult for master student to find the housing for the first initial few days. But this is how it is. So think about these options, that you have to try this, because finding accommodation in Lausanne after you arrive is what something that a master student needs to follow. So two things. First, don't take many things like food or basmati rice or any of the raw ingredients that you need to prepare Indian food. You get them here. Don't need to worry about them. And secondly, think about language and possible challenges in finding the accommodation. Yeah.
Wow. Thank you, Shreyas. I mean, that was a very elaborate answer, and I think you covered it so well that we can actually stop the session right here, but we will not. So, But one interesting point that you mentioned about the concerns of the parents and how they are about it. So this makes me want to ask you, like the other panelists, what were the concerns of your parents? Were they excited or anxious? And was there any one thing that they forced you to take with you? Were they worried about the cold or the temperature or anything? Like we would love to hear it from each one of you. So we can go back in the round. So asking to you, Saurabh. So please share your experience about the reactions of your parents, their concerns, and other things. Any one incidents or any one thing that they just said, take it with you.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it was a mix. It was definitely a mix of emotions, I would say. Yeah, excitement as well as anxiousness. I mean, your parents will be anxious if you're staying outside, and a big portion of it was, as Shreyash mentioned, was the food part. Because since even I was not aware of, and since also I was not in Lausanne, so I was not even sure that if I'll have enough Indian contacts, who would be able to help me out in finding these stuffs. So it was like this extra concern I have. So so they had packed me with a lot of Indian stuffs, and like the basic foods and some the spices and the specific things which we need for our food and stuffs for at least for 1 week, 2 weeks, or at least if we don't find other stuffs, we can get it. So this was one thing I brought along with myself. And another thing was the temperature part. Yes, now I didn't know back then, but when I came back then July 2019, and in these 2 years, I got to know that Sion is somehow the sunniest place in Switzerland. So it receives almost 360 days of sunlight, pure sunlight.
Wow.
And I had come, so okay, so we are used to high temperatures in India, right? So we get 45 degrees is nothing for us. I was like, okay, I'm going to Sion, so what a big deal. I mean, I'm not used, it will be fine. But believe me, it was that summer, it was going crazy with temperatures. It was 38 or 40 degrees in Sion, and 38 and 40 in Switzerland is very different from 38 and 40 in India.
Wow.
I mean, it's like as if you are staying in Shimla in India, and suddenly the sun loves the Shimla part so much that it concentrates all its sunlight and all its power on that part, and you are just getting like heated up to stuff. So so the point I want to make here is that Switzerland is a cold place, so you definitely need cold clothes, but there's also parts of it where summer plays a big role. So also bring summer clothes as well. So because you won't be wearing a jacket all the time. So comfortable summer clothes, and informal clothes is also a very trending fashion in Switzerland. So don't worry about that you always have to be very well dressed and with all jackets and hi-fi stuffs and all. This I would say that please collect some casual clothes which you can wear to your university and your daily markets or walking up in the streets and stuff like that. So food and clothes, these were two important things my parents were concerned about, because these also somehow relates to your health, because at the end of the day, your parents are more concerned about their health. And I found these two things to be directly related. So if you get these two things sorted out, I found a lot of other things get sorted out automatically.
Wow. Thank you so much for your answer. Moving on to Maulik with the same question.
Yeah, like yeah, for me, I think my parents had like slightly different concerns. So the thing is that like I had been to Europe previously, like not as a student but as a tourist. And the thing is that like I personally don't have any dietary restrictions as such. So I mean, my parents were like, yeah, I mean, and I had a bit of idea of how to cook like even before coming here. So my parents were like on that front, they were fairly calm about me figuring out what to eat. But yeah, they did send a bunch of pre-packed what do you call it, Maggie or bye.
Okay.
Bye. Yeah, I mean I prefer bye over Maggie. So
okay.
So there were like 20 or 25 packs of it, and yeah, that took up a lot of space in my luggage. But yeah, that was one. And the other thing which was quite funny was that my mom tried to pack the entire wardrobe into 2 suitcases. And it turns out that, my entire wardrobe was heavier than 50 kilos. So at the airport, I ended up throwing away some of the clothes, sadly. So that
Oh,
was,
that's a pity.
I mean, yeah, like throwing away or like sort of overpaying, like a cross between the two. So yeah, that's something that you should keep in mind. That the thing is that like Switzerland has a lot of clothing stores, and you can actually buy clothes here, so you don't need to bring everything with you. And yeah, I mean, I guess it's up to your parents, though. I mean, the decision is usually out of your hands. So whatever they send you with, yeah, I mean, it's yeah. I mean, the thing is that like you'll find almost everything here, and as I mentioned, like the pandemic is almost done, at least hopefully here. So
Mm,
I mean, you won't have those problems. So like whatever you come here with, you can eventually figure it out. Yeah, some conveniences, as these guys already mentioned, is like bringing a pressure cooker if you're into into yeah, if you like cooking Indian food and stuff, or yeah, you can be also like sort of open to exploring other cuisines as well if you do not have many dietary restrictions. And so yeah, that's about it.
for sure. Thank you so much. And last but not the least, Aishwarya. Uh, we would be especially interested in your views because you are the only female panelist here. So, other than the food and clothes and other things, please do share about that experience because it is really important for our female listeners. And so, please
Well,
go
I
ahead.
mean, I'm at a loss for, I can't think of like things that are specifically applicable to girls.
Okay.
Really, I mean, maybe safety, but then we're already used to
Mhm,
being safe in Chennai and Bangalore and
mhm,
where not. So that way, I think Switzerland is like super safe for the
mhm,
most part, and you don't have to be paranoid about going out late or like keeping your purse and valuables and stuff safe in
mhm,
the public transport and stuff like that. So that's a good thing.
mhm,
But then through the course of this, like while everybody was speaking, I was noting down some things that I could think of. So I will just go through them one by one. So the first thing is medicines. I
mhm,
find that medicines are super expensive here. You will have a compulsory insurance, but oftentimes the insurance works like this. So there's a amount, say 100 or 200 or 300 or 1,000, how much ever francs, that you have to pay out of your pocket. And after you cross that amount, the insurance will cover it. So if you want to go buy paracetamol or you sprained your ankle and you need some cream, that's not going to really be covered by your insurance, and these things are quite expensive, so it makes sense to bring some of these things with you when you come. So paracetamol, move, honestly I didn't even find like a proper good equivalent to move or any of the other sprain stuff we use, so this really helps. And of course if you have special medications that you need to have, then obviously you will bring those,
mhm,
especially for interns, right? You can afford to bring enough paracetamol for like 6 months and all, so go for it. Then the next thing is, Shreyas already said this, like don't bring raw ingredients and stuff. There are Indian stores, you can find it. Even masalas and all you can find, unless it's something that you only can find, that only your mom makes or something like this. Um, I wouldn't bother with that. And the other thing is, if you're not used to cooking, like if you're in a college hostel, for example, at least in IISc, we were not allowed to officially have induction stoves or anything in the room. So it was just not something I did. So in my first 10 days when I arrived, the idea of having to wake up and then make coffee or tea by myself seemed like such a huge task. Honestly, had I gotten used to just making tea or coffee now and then for no reason, as part of my routine, that would have been much easier, because back in IISc is like you just go down, you pay $5 and then you get tea, whatever, it was
mhm,
easy. So that's one nice thing. So if you have time and motivation, try
mhm.
making like simple stuff so it doesn't feel like so much of an effort anymore. At this point it's like autopilot, so
Okay.
it's okay, but it just takes some time, right? So there's that. And about the language thing, we've all been saying a lot about language, but for me, even after being here for 9 months, I finished like one A1 level course, but I'm still not fluent, nowhere close to fluent. And if people speak to me, I will only be able to understand half of what they say. So it's unrealistic to expect to know French even
Mhm,
after a year of coming here. But like we were saying earlier, all of us, it helps to be able to say simple sentences. And
mhm.
also the Google Translate thing, it seemed like a cool idea, but that could also come off as rude. So unless the person is being extra helpful, don't do that. And another problem with Google Translate is you might translate one sentence and ask them, but then they'll tell you 5 sentences back and you're not going to be able to respond to that. So yeah, try not to do that, I guess. And then, yeah, for winter stuff, I think if you're going to be here in the winter, I would think that obviously you will need some jackets, but maybe don't bring too many. Just bring minimally what you can, and consider investing in a jacket here, because I find that there's just a lot more options. There's a wide range of prices, quality, everything that you can find these in. So, and I mean, I'm from South India and Bangalore, where winter clothes is really not a thing. So it was even, it didn't make sense for me to go and buy there. So you can maybe plan, and you can also, and jackets are things that you keep for a long time. So even if you buy one in Switzerland, and you can use it for a long time later. So consider this, and they occupy a lot of space in the luggage. That's another thing. So if you have too many of them, then that's not going to be convenient. And well, the other thing about clothes is Shordeep mentioned that you can be casual and informal and stuff like this, but coming from like this campus environment, casual informal means a whole other thing. If you're someone who can wear whatever the hell and go wherever the hell and feel comfortable with it, good for you, great. But normally, in most cases, I find that people here are usually very well dressed, boys, girls, everybody. And well dressed doesn't mean like fancy clothes, but usually, ironed clothes, for example, or not clothes that are crinkled up and crumpled up, for example. So it helps to, do these things a bit. And also, I think it'll really help with social interactions, right? So consider spending a little bit of time, just because in my first few weeks, whenever I was in the metro, I was always paying attention to, how people were speaking to each other, how people were dressed and all these things. And I realized that it is very different for two reasons. One reason is that it's not a campus anymore. And also, in general, I think that Europeans spend a little bit more effort on looking put together. So that's nice. Um, and then I think another thing that really helps here, especially for settling in long term, is getting into like some kinds of activities. So this is not necessarily a thing I used to do in college. I mean, I used to randomly go do something now and then, but it really helps to have, say, a sport that you do regularly, or doesn't have to be a sport. You could even like, I can't think of examples other than sports. I'm just thinking of a badminton and swimming and whatnot. But you get the idea, right? Because it helps in two ways. One way, when you're in a new place and you're still getting used to so many things that come with being in a new place, having something that you can do for fun really helps, other than sitting alone in your room, locking yourself up and watching Netflix, which is great to do, but not every evening, right? And another reason is it helps you meet people, because I feel like here people who are locals are usually already very well settled, and they're not typically looking to expand their circles. So your best bet at making friends and finding people to hang out with are other international students like you, and going for activities like this is one way to meet more people. And if you're not the kind of person who usually has these things to do, hobbies and activities, it would be a good time to start after coming here, I think.
For sure. So thank you so much, Ashwarya. You covered all the points that are relevant, and I think we can close this round of panel discussion and open up the forum for some of our attendees who are here with us in the Zoom call. So here we have a wide variety of people. Some of them are coming here just as an intern. Some of them are coming for master studies. And yeah, so here I can see some of the names. So here we have Shreyas, Lakshya, Hardik, Arya, Abhijit. So feel free to ask any questions, say hello, or like just I mean, we have covered pretty much everything, but if you still have any questions, then just go ahead and yeah.
Ayush, I would like to add something if you allow.
Yeah, for sure.
So I had one. So Aishwarya put a really good point about medicines. So master students in EPFL have a different insurance than a PhD student, because PhD student earns, they have a different law. Master students are exempted from the compulsory health insurance requirement. So EPFL provides a cheaper insurance, which when you come here you will come to know about it. For now, take 3 months of insurance covered almost like 5 lakhs or 10 lakh Indian rupees. So they can take it from Bajaj Allianz or something for 3 months until you get an insurance here. And this is something, it's really cheap, like the premium is like 5,000 or something. And
to add to that, there's an even better option. So I mean, the master's insurance here is cheap, but it's not it's still something like $7,000 a month. And one way to get around it is to, if you're at least coming here from master's studies, is get a student insurance from India itself, which is like a foreign insurance, and something like a coverage. And if it offers you a coverage of, let's say, 300,000 euros or something, greater than 300,000 euros, and there exist plans. I mean, you could go to, yeah, exactly, Bajaj Allianz or Future Generali. Then you can essentially get an exemption from the authorities here, saying that you already have an insurance from India, and that works. So you don't need to then necessarily spend like what does it accumulate to? Something like something like you
14,000.
say, yeah, 14,000 or
1400, sorry, 1400 CHF or something per
yeah,
year.
like 3,000 CHF for the 2 years that you're here. So,
Yeah,
so it's not too bad.
yeah.
Yeah, consider
And
that option.
so once they have this insurance, so either if you take here, you can also take zero deductible one. So if you go to clinic, you don't have to pay anything from your pocket or whatever applies from the Indian insurance. But just that when you carry the medicines, carry the over the counter medicines, as Aishwarya said, but need not to carry like antibiotics or something which are needed to be prescribed. So just like paracetamol or any painkillers or all of the like Gelusil, antacids, etc. are okay. But I would say to avoid the antibiotics and prescribed medicines which you should not usually carry without a doctor's prescription.
Thank you so much. Saurabh, were you saying something?
Yeah, I was just wondering if I could also like add one point if we have time.
For sure.
This I'm not sure like if it is relevant for everyone, but yeah, maybe for people who are planning to stay a long time, it was a concern for me. So when I was heading out for PhD over in Switzerland, so some of my friends were going to US. And so what happened was that one concern which we had in general was about the transport system. So if you may know, like many students who stay in US, when they stay for a long period of time, they tend to, either buy cars in groups because the public transport system is not as robust as in Europe. But this is one thing I thought is important because public transport in Europe it's good for you to know that it's really good, it's very strong, and especially in Switzerland. Even though it's expensive, but it is very on time, and I believe like through your public trains and buses, you can actually cover all around Switzerland. So if at all, if it is a concern for some people, you don't need to worry about it, that what to do or how not to do. So you can just just with your half fare card or some cards, once you reach here, you can just efficiently travel around the country. So I just thought of mentioning this point.
This was a very good addition. Thank you, Saurabh. And so, yep, if anyone has, okay, there's a comment from Mukesh in the chat. Swiss trains are more honest than our politicians. Okay, maybe we can edit this out. Yeah, so if if anyone of the panelists have anything to add, you feel free to do so, but I would be more than happy to have any questions or comments or anything from our guests who are in the session today. So Arya, Hardik, Lakshya, Shreyas, just feel free to ask anything that you want.
Hi. Hello, am I audible?
Yes.
Hi. Yes.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. This is Arya, and I'm from India. And I'll be joining EPFL as a visiting scholar for my undergrad thesis. at LBEN. And since like in the comment section, in the chat section rather, Mukesh had briefed out on the type of clothes, like October to March is for winter clothes and April to September is for sunny weather clothes. But of course, that isn't quite what we are used to in India. So like, how would you define these clothes in terms of layers? Because of course, the winter clothes that we have in India, like the system that we follow that, okay, one jacket is enough. So that isn't the winter clothes that we'll be following in the system or in Switzerland. So how do you define the clothes in terms of layers there?
If it helps. I mean, I've almost spent one full year here. So I've seen winter and summer and autumn and spring. So I will try and answer. So for summer, you just go out with a t-shirt and a skirt or pants or anything. That's okay. When it gets warmer, maybe you would want to avoid like jeans or like very, heavy material. So in the coldest parts of winter, I think you would need one jacket which is nice and thick and warm, and maybe it can also cover your hair because sometimes there's snow or rain or something like this. And then you would need a sweater or something like this that just gives you one more layer, because sometimes you might want to take off your jacket because you're in the train or something, but still you don't want to have only your main layer of clothes because it's still gonna be quite cold. And then below that your usual clothes, and also footwear, right? So make sure that you get shoes that you can wear in the winter because your feet can get very cold as well. So just a pair of sneakers may not do for the colder winter months. And again, my advice for shoes would be just come here, find a shop, get a pair of boots, like heels, no heels, high tops, whatever. Because I feel like the number of options that you will have here for the kind of clothes that you will wear here are just much, much better. And for the spring months, I think just a light cardigan or a light sweater on top of your usual clothes is good enough. Does that answer your question, Arya?
Yes, yeah, that does. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. We have one question from Abhijit in the chat. So Abhijit is asking, what's the process to open a bank account once one reaches? So so does anyone want to take that question?
Yeah. So from the point of view of a master student, so once you come here, you have to declare to the commune office where you are staying that you arrived. So you have to apply for the residence permit here, and that time you have to ask them for an attestation, and they will give you. They know what is this. It's not very special. So you just ask for attestation, which means that you are registered to this to, let's say, Canton to Vaud for your residence permit, and you are staying in this commune. So once you have that as attestation, you can go to either UBS, Credit Suisse, or whatever bank you prefer, and there you can just go and they will give you whole information and they will open the account for you. Just you have to have the address of correspondence the same for all of the time. If your accommodation is not going to be fixed, so for example you are going to stay in Airbnb for 2 weeks, let's say, and then you find something else, so then you can go and open the account until you, for those 14 days, or let's say even until a month, you can have a forex card like Thomas Cook or something which you can have. But it's important that you should have a permanent an address on your name for your bank account, and if it changes you have to tell that to the bank right away that your address has changed, because here banks don't communicate with emails or text messages. They mostly communicate with the postal address. So this is important that if you change your postal address in 2 weeks, you can tell them. Or the best way, I would say, if your accommodation is not fixed, just use the forex card for your local purchases, and then you can open an account. It's really fast. That's fine.
Okay.
Yeah,
We
someone
had
raised hand, Lakshya,
Yes.
and she had he has a question.
Hi.
It's he.
So am I audible?
Yes, Lakshya, you are audible.
Yeah. Hi, I'm a bachelor student at ISC Bangalore, and I'm coming for my undergrad thesis from July. So my question was regarding utensils, as in like I'm staying with FMEL, and I just wanted to know whether basic utensils are provided in a flat share, or do I need to bring the very basic cutlery alongside me? Or if it's not expensive, buy one from there, buy something.
That's a very good question. So who would want to take it? Shreyas, Aishwarya, Mukesh?
I'll do it.
Okay.
I personally live in an FMEL, and
Okay.
the chances are that like more people would be already be living with you most likely, and they would have a working set of utensils, so you will be fine on that front. I mean, especially like just carry like I would suggest one basic plate, bowl, and spoon and fork, however as you need, and that's just about it. I think the cooking utensils I think you would find in the FMEL for sure, most likely. Which FMEL is it, if I may ask?
It's Cedrus. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right or not.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think it would work. I mean, I was just checking if it's an old FMEL or it's a new one. So
nice.
Yeah, I think you should be fine. And yeah, on that front. And yeah, I don't think you need to carry. I mean, if you have a problem especially with space, then I would suggest not carrying. If you have extra space, then maybe bring a pan or something.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure. So thank you so much for answering the question. Does anyone else have any question? Like Shreyas Kulshrestha and Hardik, or anyone else?
No, thank you, Ayush. Hi, this is Shreyas.
Yeah. Hello, Shreyas.
This is helpful. Just in the future, if I have any questions, is there a way I can reach out to you and anyone else?
Glad that you asked this question. So in our next part of this session, where we move towards the closure, I would like to start with a presentation where you can get all this information, where you can contact us and how to find us and everything else. So, yep. So now moving on toward, I hope no one else has any questions.
I have some.
Yep. Okay.
Well, I have. It's more of a comment than a question.
Okay.
Things that we probably missed.
Okay.
Just let me switch off this notification. Okay. So the first thing is like when you arrive to Switzerland, you have to bring some Swiss francs with you, right? Some Swiss money, because Indian rupees will not work here. So how much to bring? So this can vary from people to people. My personal suggestion is bring 1,000 francs. Already convert that, and then it should be okay.
In cash.
In cash, obviously, yes. In cash. That would be good.
Just one thing here. Sorry, Mukesh, to interrupt, but at least from what I was used to, I would think that if you're able to get a Forex card, that would probably be better than carrying it in cash for multiple reasons. One, obviously, is safety and like just not losing money. And also, since it's a large amount, it's better that it's in a Forex card. And you're going to be here at least for some months. So there's no risk of that money not getting used up. You can finish using it in a few months easily. And 1,000. Because if you know that you're going to open a bank account and start getting some sort of stipend or salary, then that shouldn't take more than a month, I think, if I'm not wrong.
Fair enough.
Good point.
And for me, it was like hybrid, because I had like 500 in cash, and then I had this Thomas Cook Forex card in which there was 500. But anyway, I just used like 100 in cash, and later I had to deposit all of them back to the account. So you don't really need cash, like almost nowhere. Like everywhere it works with cashless payment. So yeah.
I mean, here, if I can share my personal experience, then I would say that in the part where I'm living, which is not in a city, cash is king. So, I mean, I can tell you here, the vending machines, for example, they accept cash only. So there is no way I could use my credit card, and I almost had to sleep hungry during my first night in Switzerland. So, so I had to like order online, and then it cost me a lot more than buying it from the vending machine. But yes, bring some cash because you never know where you're going to be. So if you're going to be in some of the satellite campus like PSI, I mean, PSI is not a satellite camp EPFL, but an institute of its own, but it's in a quite remote area. So if you are going there, or if you see that it's not a very in the middle of the city, then it's good to have some emergency cash, because cash you can use anywhere. Before we take your question, Lakshya, I would like Mukesh to finish what he says, and then we'll come back to your question.
It's okay. I mean, Lakshya, if it's related, it's better.
No, I just wanted to know about the sporting facilities.
What?
The sporting facilities, as in I'll be there for 6 months. So I was hoping to, as Aishwarya said, activities help, and I like.
Yeah, maybe we can discuss this separately then.
Yeah,
it's better. I won't take much time. The second thing that I think it's important, like the charger converters that we have. Yeah, the converters that the plug that we use in India is different compared to one that is used in Europe. So just buy 1 or 2 universal converters. This is just for the beginning. Once you are here, maybe you'll get used to, maybe you'll buy a new one, or you'll do something that works compatible with the plugs here. But do carry 2 universal charge converters.
Adapters.
Yeah, power adapters. What else? Yeah, you can get this cell phone providers once you are here. I guess the cell phones from India should work here. They do. The providers, once you arrive, you can get either at the airport. There are a bunch of companies. You can look it up. There are 2-3 companies, and all are more or less good. Just choose the package and buy one. You can get it at the airport.
Mukesh, just to add to the phone thing, so if it is a possibility for you to get an international pack for the first couple of days of coming here, that gives you the luxury of not having to choose something at the airport. So I did this. So for my India number, I just had an international pack for a few days. And then when I went to Salt is one of the large providers. You don't have to choose them, but I happened to. So when I went there in person to the store, I got a really good offer. So that helps, and especially around the time when we come here around September or August, they have a lot of student focused offers going on. So, and they give you like free stuff. They gave me a pair of wireless earphones. But so my point is that if you're able to just manage for the first few days with an international pack or something, you can go to the store and get a good pack.
Yeah, that's a very, very good suggestion. Also, you can port within. It doesn't matter if you have already the number. If I'm with one company, you can just port it to another with that offer. It's also possible. And then in the end, I guess, Lakshya, your question is, you posted it me personally that you are coming from 6 months, right? From July till December.
Yeah, that's the period.
So I guess we already discussed some points, unless. Yeah.
For him, I guess for exchange students, EPFL has this ESN community. So you can also search for some Facebook group of ESN EPFL something 2021 maybe, and these are like specially focused for the exchange students, and they organize many sport and hiking and even skiing, such kind of activities, and it's quite student focused. So it would be really nice for you to enroll yourself in with ESN. It would be nice.
Yeah, and maybe I can add about the sports a bit now. So basically, almost all, we played like kind of all the winter sports. And for summer sports, if you think about cricket, it's not that famous here. Like people are still like, what is this? What are the people playing? But yeah, we do have Indian community here, and we play cricket almost every day and almost every, not every day, every Sunday. In our mind, we play every day. Anyway, so yeah, there is a sports center where you can just enroll. It's very cheap, and also it's like many sports you can just opt for volleyball, and it's right at the next to the lake. If you're on the Lausanne campus, for satellite campus, maybe others can add to it. And yeah, so I don't know which specifically sports do you want to play, or it's very generic. But there are other sportive events also, like ESN events, or there are very kind of club-like events where you can learn how to sail a boat, swimming, or we can also go on mountain hiking or climbing, bouldering, you name it. So it's quite good. Yeah.
Okay. In the chat, we have a question directed to Maulik from Ramesh. So Ramesh wants to know, how much does it cost to color your hair?
I would say that if you want to color your hair, do it in India. Much cheaper there.
Fair enough. So, yep. So
and just another
yeah.
thing to add is for the sports thing. Well, maybe now it doesn't matter so much, but especially during the pandemic time, a lot of the university sports facilities were closed. But a little before that, many of the like standalone sports centers were open. So, for example, there are swimming pools that you can go to, badminton centers, which are usually operated by like a badminton club or like a swimming club or something like this. But then you can find some that are not super expensive, and if it's a sport that is really part of your routine, you can very well choose to go there as well.
Can I also maybe add one thing here?
Yep, for sure.
Maybe so this is more so if you also want to try like a very winter sports which are unique to Switzerland, like snowboarding or skiing or stuff like these, you can always it's very good to try out these here. And in the mountains, we have different, these, you can hire personal coaches and stuffs. They are a bit expensive to be sure, but it's good to, go in groups and get a personal coach and do it for just to be safe. And you can also go with friends and try it out. But I would say since for starters, because there is a chance that since these are not sports we are accustomed to, you might get injured or stuff like that. So it's good to go with a coach, but definitely give it a try if you're in Switzerland. Skiing and snowboarding and these stuffs are nice to explore.
That was a really good tip, and I am like very happy and thankful to our panelists today, because I can see that everyone is excited to share and like tell each and every small thing that they know about Switzerland to our future arrivals or like people who are going to come here. And here we have one question from Hardik in the chat. So he's asking, is Swiss French different from French? So who would like to take that question?
Not much, but it's a bit easier, with like the 80, so you don't have to say 80, you just say 80 and then it's done.
I think the numbers
it's a
is
bit
the
easier, I
only
would
relevant
say.
difference.
The numbers are different. And also, I don't know if it is important right now. I mean, if I can just vaguely remember 2 years back, maybe at least for the satellite campuses, I did bring along some photographs because it was necessary for some parts, but maybe it's not that important in other campuses. But yeah, you can just take it into account. You can just, for your safety, just bring a few photographs. Yes.
That was another important tip. And I'm like really glad that we are recording the session and people can watch it again whenever they feel like, and even people who could not make it can watch this. So given the paucity of time, we will, okay. So, okay, we have one last question from Ramesh. And I can just read it out. So Ramesh says, I've heard joining YUVA brings benefits like free treats on YUVA budget. Is that true? So I'll let Mukesh take that one as he's our president.
Yeah, you're absolutely true. You just have to be a part of YUVA and work for it. So no work, no treat.
Fair enough. Okay.
So how do you join YUVA? Like, if I can question that.
It's a good question. Who asked? Arya? Yeah,
Yes.
I think Ayush will answer this in the next session. So good.
Okay.
Good point.
So given the paucity of time, let's move on to the final part of this webinar, where we will just give you a sneak peek about what YUVA is and kind of summarize what we discussed in this episode. So without any further ado, let's go on to that. So can you all see my screen?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. So, yep, we are YUVA Indians, which is the Association of Indian Students in Lausanne at both EPFL and UNIL. So what is YUVA? YUVA basically stands for Youth United via Action, and we have been an official association at EPFL and UNIL since 2010. So we are a public, not-for-profit, non-political, and non-religious organization. We are an organization of for Indian students and students of Indian origin, but our membership is open to all students in Switzerland for membership. So if you are, even if you're not an Indian, but are interested in Indian culture and people and events and food, YUVA is the place to be. So I'll just give you a brief sneak peek about who our members are and where we are from. So basically we are from everywhere in India. We have people from different places. Here you can see Nihar, Siddharth, and then Richa and Vishwa, myself from Calcutta again. We have Shreyas, Arvind, and Mukesh, and everyone else. So as you can see, we are from everywhere. So this is the core committee of YUVA for the year 2020-2021. Then here is our website where you can find the important general resources like how to find housing, what to do after reaching Switzerland, where can we buy Indian groceries, how to get currencies exchange, and every important thing. So this has been compiled meticulously by our team, especially Richa, who worked several days to like compile this and put this nice FAQ for every one of us. Then here are some useful resources for housing. There are different websites where you can see, and just because we have to mention it, I must emphasize that this is not an advertisement. So do your own due diligence, and as a common guideline or tip, never pay anything in advance. Then moving on to other useful resources, which is food. So we have a lot of supermarket chains, which is all across Switzerland, like Migros, Denner, Coop, Aldi. These are the big ones, but we have many other small ones as well. And then, of course, there are Asian stores all around the Switzerland. Some of them are more popular than the others. And then there are several online options as well. So you can get any type of packed spices or raw material that you can imagine. And yeah, so once you come here, you will know more and talk to people and you will know even more. So we'll not cover everything and we'll leave something for you to come and explore and talk to people who have been living here before you. And then there are many of the amazing places that you can see, which are completely different in different seasons. So in the first two pictures that you can see, it's the same place of EPFL Campus Lausanne. So one of the pictures is during the snowstorm that we had, and the other one is during the not so snowy season. And these photos were all sent in by the participants of our very own photo contest. Then there are other places where you can see, so these are like nice summer springy vibes, and yep. So most of them are by our participants, but some of them are also by our president Mukesh. And so before we end this session, I would like to thank all our panelists who have taken out their time from the schedule and answered all our questions from our different participants. And yep, Vishwa, Bhushan, Nazimul, Arvind, I mean, everyone. I mean, it has been quite a journey. And last but not the least, I would like to thank everyone in the YUVA core committee, especially Mukesh, who has been the tech support for all the sessions and handling them quite well. Then I would like to thank all our members, Arvind, Shreyas, Richa, Vishwa, and everyone else who have always led to really good discussions and gave ideas on what we can do, what we cannot do, and think from perspectives, and who basically made this seminar or the series, My Journey to Switzerland, happen. So far, our focus has been on my journey to Switzerland, and I would like to end this by focusing on your journey to Switzerland. So, if you have any questions regarding travel, accommodation, or anything that you can think of, information is available on our website. But if you feel more comfortable talking to someone, or you want to reach out to us in person, you can definitely reach out on our Facebook page, on our Twitter, on our Instagram, or you can even send us an email. Your team is really excited to meet you. So whenever you come to Switzerland, just hit us up and we'll be more than happy to welcome you, meet you, and meet you in person. So
Yeah,
with
maybe
this,
before
I
you
share my
end,
screen and leave the stage to Mukesh to say the final words.
thank you very much for joining. I just want to give a special thanks to Ayush for his initiative. And as you can see, it's been helpful for many people. And also we've got many messages post episodes that they have benefited from these episodes. And it's very good that we should continue this in future as well. And we will come up with some of these, and maybe season 2 or season 3 of different kinds of things. Not only, so this is like a basic startup, and then things get updated over time and time. So thank you, Ayush, for starting this up and taking this all the way until the end. Also, obviously, I thank all of my YUVA core committee members as well. So
Okay.
thank you very much. I guess we can go offline now.
Yep.